Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is Nigeria, West Africa, and Islamic terrorism. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about Nigeria, West Africa, and Islamic terrorism, Dr. LMadu. And Dr. Madu, you are in a real sense no stranger to what we do here at Comments every Sunday morning and Saturday morning. And we're so delighted to have you here once more to talk about what I consider to be a very, very important issue, and that is West Africa. And I think we've done items on West Africa earlier, talking about the drug cartels and the real serious threat that poses to the United States and other areas. And now we're talking about Nigeria, West Africa, and Islamic terrorism. And so why don't you get us started by simply giving us an overview in terms of Islamic terrorism in Nigeria, West Africa, and not only there, but throughout the entire continent of Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. As usual, I'm glad to be here, to talk about this very important topic in view of what happened, last year, in December last year, the attempted hijacking, which brought to the fore, the problem of Islamic militancy in West Africa. Prior to that, we've read about the bombing of American embassies in Tanzania, in Kenya, and other places. But the event of last December, crystallized, brought it home to the United States directly of the threat of Islamic militancy.
There is a real threat to the United States, you believe, within that context?
Absolutely. The problem is that Islamic militancy and terrorism per se in West Africa has been under the lid, has been kept under the lid as if it didn't exist. But for those, who've been at the receiving end of it, can tell you it's been there. For example, in Nigeria, since 1950s, there has been, continuous slaughter of Christians who live in the northern part of the country by a gang of Islamic hordes from 1954 to up to now, as we speak. That mayhem is still continuing. And the reason, nothing has happened is because nobody has been prosecuted. Not a single soul has been prosecuted since then.
And it seems to me, though, Dr. Madu, that the world does not know anything about it. I mean, all of these things are going on, yet and still we don't get any kind of information. Explain, deal with all of that.
A lot of it, concerns internal politics and some also external politics. If you remember, Nigeria was under the control of the British colonialists. When they left, they chose to implant, the Islamic north of the country in power. And since then, there has been problems, arising from Islamic militancy. Those Christians who live in northern part of the country, who are predominantly Igbo or Yorubas, have been under intense pressure from Islamic terrorists. That's what you call them, since then. Crystallizing in 1966, when several thousands of Nigerian citizens who predominantly are Christians and Igbo from the south of the country were slaughtered en masse. Nothing happened. That's exactly what led, to the Nigerian Civil War, to the secession of the eastern part of the country, because they were tired, of being killed and nothing done about it. We talk of state terrorism. Okay, that's an example of state terrorism. When the government, is complicit in the slaughtering of its own people, is state terrorism. Now we in the United States say, okay, we have several governments that are sponsoring state terrorism outside, but internally, you have internal state terrorism as well as external. The one in Nigeria has been very internal, because that slaughter has been consistent. Right now, as we speak, Christians and Muslims are being slaughtered in Jos, in northern Nigeria. This has been going on for the past 3 weeks, continuously, right now, as we speak. Yeah.
And yet it seems the world does not know about it, or what? It does not care about it, or what are we saying here?
Well, because of commercial interests. You know, the British government knew about all this, even the American government knew about all this, but they couldn't do anything because they said it was British sphere of influence. And the British government is more interested in its economic interests, oil and all the rest, and not, you know, about the lives of its citizens. So it's not a new phenomenon.
Okay, and so Dr. Madu, let us take this first commercial break, and then we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The guest is